verses 21 through 29. Does that scene remind you of a dark time in your life? Maybe even your current season? Do you feel stuck in a position that you cannot escape? Are you intensely anxious because you feel yourself being stretched in every direction? Think about any deep-seated fears that may be nagging at you. Do you sense a deep dread as though your life were hanging in the balance? And amid all of that, does it seem that God is nowhere to be found? Jesus experienced all of that on Good Friday. If we live long enough, you and I will face similar experiences. Once he bent his knees to pray in Gethsemane, Jesus entered our existential dread and anxiety and faced the intense agony of our primal fears. He sweat drops of blood as he allowed the agony to overtake him. Terrible as it was the beginning of our deliverance from sin and death. Jesus collapsed under the weight of our human darkness, yet he arose from prayer devoted to the will of God, knowing that the Father would glorify him because of his self-sacrificial, self-emptying love. Our seasons of suffering are not as intense as what Jesus endured. Yet we can feel overwhelmed and powerless in the presence of our primal fears and the dread of not knowing what's next or whether even more pain awaits us around the corner. We can know this, however. Our trouble will not last forever, as this devotional will show. It is designed to move you through the my God, why experiences, reassuring you that your present season is not a life sentence. Dante Alighieri, 1265 to 1321 CE, wrote one of the greatest classical pieces of literature of all time, and its significance endures to this day. I mention it for a reason. Divine Comedy is in 3 parts, beginning with Inferno, the journey through hell that started on Good Friday. Dante opens his journey to Sheol this way. In the middle of the journey of our life, I came to myself in a dark wood where the direct way was lost. It is a hard thing to speak of, how wild, harsh, and impenetrable that wood was, so that thinking of it recreates the fear. It is scarcely less bitter than death, but in order to tell of the good that I found there, I must tell of the other things I saw there. I want to remind you of the dream I shared in the epilogue of On the Edge of Hope. The dream occurred at the very beginning of the 3.5-year dark season the book describes. For 16 years now, I have lived with that dream, reflecting on it again and again. I related to Dante's words because I felt as though hell itself had swallowed me up. I wasn't at midlife as Dante was, but I was in the middle of a season when I thought that anything I could ever want was being made possible for me, until I reached my dark wood. Ultimately, that crisis, the most intense of any I have ever faced, became my life's midpoint. Since then, I speak of my journey in terms of before or after my dark season. Such seasons tend to surprise us. Dante describes a place that seemed haunted, a place he did not expect to encounter when he did. He was off the beaten path, with no GPS and no sense of how to move forward. In the language of one psycholinguistic expert, Dante was in a territory without maps, a place he found hard to articulate. I get it. I've been there. Talk about a place that is wild, harsh, and impenetrable. That is where I was, and where you might be now. When Dante talked about his experience afterward, he felt all the fears all over again. When Chosen Books asked me to write about my dark wood encounter, it was 15 years after the fact. I indeed felt those fears all over again, but from a different place of understanding them. I can relate to Dante's scarcely less bitter than death comment, yet like him, I found good in my dark season. That was the reason I wrote the book, and it's why